Do you ever feel misunderstood by the public, just being who you are and running the company that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through the GameStop
Yeah.
stuff, so definitely used to it.
But how tired are you of talking about it? It's okay. You can be honest.
Yeah.
It's just such a complicated thing. Yeah, so sometimes I just don't know what aspect of it to discuss. But
That's the thing is when all of that went down,
Yeah.
I remember Graham and I were talking and he was making videos on it, covering it.
yes,
And
I defended, right? Yeah.
and Graham,
you did. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
came to me and he was like, do I defend them? Like how?
Yeah,
What kind of a position do I take on this? Because unfortunately, the way that YouTube works, the way that if you're making videos to appeal to the masses, you need to have a villain, especially when people are hurting.
Totally.
And so you can either choose that route, the politically expedient route of making a villain, getting everyone to love that, or you could choose sometimes the hard truth, which is the more nuanced approach of like, hey, these things aren't as cut and dry as you guys may think them to be.
Totally.
Yeah, that's what sucked back then because I remembered, I think we had a call and you had done a few podcasts at the time.
Yeah.
And everybody hated those
They hated
podcasts
them.
Yep.
because you're like, oh, you're just a paid shill for Robinhood, even though you were never paying anybody. It was just,
No.
I'm happy to go on and talk about it if you want to hear me out. And I'm
Right.
sure even this, some people will think, oh, they must have been paid or something. No, it's just like, this is an honor to be here. We've been trying to do this for years. Like,
Oh,
we're just
thank you for
excited
saying
about
that.
it, genuinely. But I remember at that time, and it's still to this day, if you go and defend Robinhood over GameStop, you're just shit on. And if you go and say, oh, Robinhood disabled the buy button because they're in bed with Citadel and all this, everyone's like, oh, yeah, thank you. That's
Thank you for
awesome.
standing up for the little man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, if you say, oh, that's bullshit, or that's just a conspiracy theory, or that's totally wrong, then they're like, oh, of course he would say that. What, do you
Yeah.
think he's gonna admit to colluding with Citadel on a podcast? But I think I've gotten some advice from some people who have unfortunately been through some like crisis comms situations, right? Some crisis comms situations. Daniel Ek from Spotify has been through some shit as well. And we had this conversation where he was like, there's like various stages to a communications crisis. There's like when you see a little bit of smoke happening, and then there's like a brush fire is kind of the middle stage. And at some point it becomes an inferno, a conflagration, and you've completely lost control.
Mhm.
And you can't put out the inferno. You kind of just have to like get out of the way because you're not going to control the message. And I think the unfortunate thing with GameStop is the time where it was a small brush fire or like a smoke was very short, and it actually ended and it turned into an inferno before I woke up. So I woke up and my phone was unusable because I was getting so many like text messages and tweets. It was like, if you've seen that video, I think Kim Kardashian posted it at some point, where she turned off Do Not Disturb on her phone, and this thing was just like
just the notification.
it was just
like every
unusable.
second. Yeah.
So it was like that. And what Daniel said is the conventional wisdom is you kind of just have to hide during the inferno, and then when everything is rubble and everything is a mess, then you kind of like poke your head out and do an Oprah interview. So I didn't do that. I actually got out right in the middle of it, and I did a bunch of interviews. Right, Sorkin, Cuomo. I had the congressional hearing. I did the Elon Clubhouse. And you know, sometimes I think about what if I had just, it was very hard at the time because everyone's like, oh, we need to hear from Vlad, we need to talk. But in hindsight, I probably should have like let the dust settle a bit and then did one big interview.
The thing is,
that I
no one's
prepared
ready for nuance. Like, I heard you, and it's hard for me to understand because you explained it in such a way that was
It
complicated.
was way too high level. Your
Right.
explanations of what actually went down. When you could break it down, if you just made your own piece of media and you were like, this is exactly what happened. This is, you know, they requested this amount of liquid capital to back these things. And then,
Right.
and then this is when I got the text. This is how long we've been a company. This is how much capital we have. What am I like, there's no option for the company.
100%.
Then, like, if you controlled everything and put that out there instead of more candidly trying to hope that you're able to relay a very nuanced and hard to articulate perspective, like live, that made it a lot more difficult.
You explained it like an engineer.
100%.
And even for me, I was like, I have to go and listen to this like twice just to, okay, that happened, this happened. Okay,
and you have to
understand.
know how it actually works.
Yeah.
How the system works.
I think I botched the communications on that to some degree for sure. It was obviously not fatal for the company, but I think I could have done a much better job. I think there were two issues, one of which you point out. I just got out there too early without actually even knowing the full information of exactly what happened, who the players were involved, who was talking to who. There was like a cloud of uncertainty, and we needed to say something, and we were getting roasted for like not communicating fully and properly, right? Which I would say we communicated properly, but certainly we didn't communicate with the full. There were more details that were released as soon as we got them, and we're confident in them. And actually, you get in a lot of trouble for both communicating wrong things that you then have to correct, right? Because that just feeds the trolls even more. If they're like, "Oh, we'll see, they were lying, they changed the story." So something. So you have to be accurate and truthful, and we have to make sure everything is like correct. And, so you saw our communications got more detailed over time. But in hindsight, we probably should have just chilled out and like come up with something comprehensive and full as our first thing. The second thing was just sleep deprivation. And it was like I was on these interviews after pulling many all-nighters because it was all hands on deck during that time. Because Robinhood was a small startup, and we were dealing with not just this like issue, but also historic volumes. We were the number one app on the App Store. It was very rare for a finance app, ahead of like Instagram and TikTok, right? And all kinds of things get strained when you grow too fast as a financial app. So we were dealing with that. And so, I came on these podcasts and these interviews, and by the way, everyone was remote, so it was actually hard to coordinate. And my face was kind of pale, and they're like, "Oh, he looks kind of like a vampire." That's not very confidence inspiring. And it was all conspired to make that not ideal, I guess.
So if you were to answer the not so simple question of why did you disable GameStop buy button, how would you now answer it?
Now, really quick, every business is asking themselves the same question. How do we make AI work for us? The possibilities are limitless, but guessing is too risky, and sitting on the sidelines is not an option, because one thing is certain. If you're not doing it, your competitors are already making their move.
And that's where our sponsor NetSuite by Oracle comes in. It's the #1 AI cloud ERP, trusted by over 43,000 businesses to manage everything from financials and inventory to commerce, HR, and CRM, all in one unified system.
When all of your data is in one place, your AI becomes a lot smarter. It doesn't just guess. It knows. NetSuite intelligently automates routine tasks, delivers real-time insights, and helps you make fast, confident decisions that actually help drive growth.
And it's not just an add-on, it's AI that's literally built right into the system that runs your business, helping you cut costs, improve accuracy, and stay ahead of the competition.
Whether your company is making millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite gives you visibility and control to keep moving forward. Honestly, if I were building a business of this size, NetSuite's the only company that I have 100% confidence in.
So if your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, get our completely free business guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/clips.
Again, the guide is free for you at netsuite.com/clips, netsuite.com/clips, with the link down below in the description.
So if you were to answer the not so simple question of why did you disable GameStop buy button, how would you now answer it?
Oh, I mean, it was just to comply with regulatory requirements. Yeah, but basically, if you don't comply with regulatory requirements, they can come in and shut down your business. And then what happens is it's not just the people that traded GameStop that can't trade, but nobody can trade. All of the buy and hold investors that are just holding, shares in their accounts, they get hurt.
So people are going to ask then, who's in charge of the regulation?
Yeah. So the tricky part is regulations have multiplied over time. A lot of these things date back to Dodd-Frank, which was created in the wake of the global financial crisis. And, Lehman went belly up. You had Bear Stearns, and they're like, okay, how do we protect this from happening? We just have to make sure the capital requirements go up early so that we prevent a huge systemic issue from crashing the market. And I don't think they anticipated that a lot of those capital requirements would just get triggered by retail investors, buying up meme stocks. But
why couldn't the price just continue going higher indefinitely? Like, wouldn't you think that at a certain price, there's going to be a seller on the other end, and if there's not, the price just goes higher, and the retail investors just figure it out amongst themselves? Like, why does there need to be a capital requirement behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason is that a lot of trades happen on credit effectively. So you buy the stock and you have to deliver the shares a couple of days later. You have to pay for them a couple of days later. And I think what's happened a lot in the past when you have these short squeezes and some stock goes up, it then goes down. And then if, you have that 2-day period where people have to pay for the cash, sometimes they don't show up with the cash. And they're like, I made a mistake, or someone else made that trade. It wasn't me. So you have reversals. And I think that's a big problem. So now, of course, if there's real-time settlement and the cash and the shares exchange hands right away, there's less of an issue. But yeah, I mean, there's good reasons for these things. I think that you do see a lot of strange behavior when there's market euphoria or strange things happening, and a lot of people are like looking out for their best interest as well. The other thing that's interesting is if you look at actually what happened, trading volume was very, very high in those meme stocks during that entire week, and January 28th was a Thursday. And then the weekend came, and then we had like the Super Bowl. So a lot of people, I think, blamed Robinhood for the subsequent collapses in some of these stocks. But I think a big part of it was just the weekend and people moved on to something else. You know how an internet mob doesn't usually hold their attention on one thing. I think they just, markets were closed, they moved on to something else, and then there was the Super Bowl and so many other things.
Yeah.
Plus there were other brokerages, platforms that disabled the buy button.
So you saw a huge like when the market opened on Monday, there was just like a big difference.
Do you think something like that could ever happen again? Like with GameStop? Because I feel like that was such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I don't...
So which stock is it?
Actually, now there's this thing about how people are asking ChatGPT for what stock to buy, right?
Yeah.
And, what happens if it just has 1 billion users and it tells everyone the same stock?
About that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to be exactly like GameStop. It's rarely the same exact thing, but I think something analogous could happen.